Cool. Good morning. This is Dr. Matthew Dodd. Good evening for my guest, Simon Severino of StrategySprints, talking to me from Austria, I believe you just said.
Yes. Hello, Matthew. Hello, everybody.
Well, welcome and nice to finally connect with you, especially from such a beautiful city. Always useful as a top line. Tell people a bit about StrategySprints and yourself. You've got quite an interesting background.
Yes, StrategySprints, we are a team that does only one thing, help teams with go-to-markets, with everything around sales and marketing.
Okay.
And we're doing this since 21 years, from the big brands to the solopreneurs. We have one-to-one coaching for everybody in many time zones. Meanwhile, I started this myself as being somebody who loves helping people with stuff that really matters.
Mm-hmm.
That was what really mattered for them. The vital topics were cash and time. And these are go-to-market topics. So I focused on that every day. I showed up to be present for these topics, to hold that space and to move stuff forward. And I've learned a ton. I've saved those things. They became, the tools, the templates for the next clients.
Yep.
And now fast forward 21 years later, we have a Sprint University with 274 of those tools.
Wow.
So our clients get some quick plug and play helpful tools ready.
Yeah.
You don't have to reinvent the Ayurveda cuisine. It would take you 5,000 years, right? You just get the blueprint. These are the 5 principles. That's what you do. Half an hour later, you have a dish. That's the principle. So
Good metaphor. I meant to say in your intro, because I noted this and I wanted to talk to you about it. You're also an author. StrategySprints is also a book title now, right?
Yes. So in the last 5 years, I fired myself from operations. So I couldn't coach everybody anymore in all time zones. So I fired myself from operations. Now I only run the company, which is just, curating the company, onboarding people, etc. And now everybody said, now, Simon, you have so much time now. What do you do with all this time?
Yeah.
Go out there, write a book about this.
Yeah.
Give it to the people, because not everybody can afford a one-to-one coaching.
Sure.
But a book everybody can afford. The world needs it right now. And I went, you are right. I hate writing books, but let's do it. Let's team up. I have something to say and I have something to share.
Yeah.
Just bring me people who can actually write a book and create a great book. So I need a team. Yeah. I need an illustrator. I need somebody who, spell checks and makes it a readable thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, if we find a team, let's do it. Let's share it with the world. 2 years later, here's the book.
2 years later, here's the book. When did the book come out?
It came out in February of this year in most countries.
Okay. Wow. And you said team. So the book was, you did it the way you recommend companies do things, like you formed the right team to make the book happen.
I think we have to be honest. What is our superpower? Yeah. And everything else we have to source, right? To team up.
Yeah.
So my superpower is only one thing. I'm a practitioner. 21 years of doing stuff, solving sales problems, solving marketing problems with teams in a room with a flip chart. Mm-hmm. That's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did 21 years. So my only strength into a book is I have something to say. I have something to share, my blueprints, my checklists, the stories of our clients.
Mm-hmm.
So the clients and we were bringing the content. Also, clients wrote the foreword and case studies in between. That was very collaborative. And then, of course, I teamed up with a graphic designer to make it something that is nice to look at, with a copywriter that really helped a ton. She said, Simon, every chapter needs to end like a Netflix episode where you're hooked and you want to move to the next. And I said, oh my God, how do I do it? I don't know how to do that.
Right.
Yeah. That will be my support, Simon. So I refine each beginning and each end.
Yeah.
And I say, oh, wow, yeah, that sounds professional. And then I had a publisher, Kogan Page in London, who knows how to do books and how to do title and how to do the cover.
Mm-hmm.
These are all details that really matter. Mm-hmm. And they have, of course, also the the distribution channels, from Barnes and Nobles to Amazon, etc.
Yeah.
And the airports and all those details that also matter. And so they did that part. That's why it was a team effort.
Wow. And a team effort for what amounts to, new business coming out of the old business, if I'm hearing it correctly. The, learning experience, the toolkit, if you will, you built over 21 years, but the idea of encapsulating it between two covers was a new effort.
Yes, absolutely. First time that I did it. Hopefully also the last time, because it was 2 years of really hard work.
Would you do it again?
Never. I am asked to do a new one because it went well and we had fun and we're helping so many people. And so, hey, let's do a second one. So, yeah, maybe next year.
Maybe next year. Well, and from what you said about your superpower, I could see that. Congrats for doing it, but I'm guessing it took a real discipline to slog through the process. Yeah.
Yes, initially that was the hard part, but after a couple of weeks, when you get into that routine,
Yeah.
So I had a simple tactics that we might share, because it's also part of how you run a business, how you structure your day. So when there is something which is really hard, but it's important,
Yeah.
what you can do is just start in the middle. I have a Post-it which is on my door. It's still on there. It's just a Post-it. Start in the middle. So don't think about, the whole chapter or the great case or the great sentence. Just start in the middle. So I did put in the calendar every Monday morning, I had 4 hours of uninterrupted work for 6 months. That was the writing period, phase 1. And that was sacred. It was in my calendar. Nobody could book it. And so I would listen to some nice music, sit down and start writing. That's it. And after those 4 hours, whatever was there. And then I would start editing. So don't edit while you create.
Yeah.
That's the Post-it. Just start in the middle. Don't think in editing mode. Think just in, free association mode. Just get it out.
Yeah, just get it out. Was this keyboard, out loud, pencil? What's the actual physical process?
Yeah, I was typing in a Google Doc, typing on my MacBook in a Google Doc, and just get it out, get it out. After those 6 months, then we started editing with the editor, and that was stage 2, editing. And then of course we need multiple writing and rewriting. So the editing stage is really the bulk of the work.
Yeah.
So just get it out. That's the first stage. Don't criticize yourself. Just get it out.
I do some guest blog posting in the email space, and agreed to do a post for a friend and colleague. It's like, oh crap, I got to do this. And sure enough, kind of to your point, what I thought I started to write the post about, wait, right turn. No, it went somewhere completely different by the time I was somewhere near the target word. I'm like, oh, I guess that's what I was going to write about after all. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also I reused everything.
Yes.
So those 4 hours, after that, I could pick apart and make it the weekly YouTube video.
Yeah.
That weekly YouTube video, my team transcribed, it became also the weekly blog post. Every month, the best blog post would become also a LinkedIn newsletter, etc. So of course, you can reuse that content multiple times, so that it's an efficient use of your 4 hours.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by the process side of it on a number of levels, but the fact that you blocked the time in the calendar, 4 hours is quite a chunk of time in this fractured, interrupt-driven workspace that we tend to live in. Was that the first time that you'd had that much dedicated, blocked off time, or had you done that for other projects or needs in the past?
No, it's funny. We have 3 habits in the StrategySprints method: the daily habit, weekly habit, and monthly habit. And the daily habit is write down how you spend your time, and then in the evening review and learn how you will spend it more wisely tomorrow. And then you write the flow of the day. So for 21 years, I've every day been writing down how I structure my day and slightly learn something about myself
Yeah.
to improve the next day.
Yeah.
What I have learned in those 21 years is my own energy curve, if you want.
Yeah.
And I think this is important for everybody. Find your energy curve.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is very clear now that I'm 42. In the morning, I am an introvert. I just sit down, heads downward.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody called me. Nobody talked to me.
Mm-hmm.
In the afternoon, people can book meetings with me, my colleagues, legal contracts, interviews, whatever these outside world stuff are, meetings, heads upward. That's for me the second part of the day. And with this simple trilogy, actually, because before the deep work in the morning, I have me time, 2.5 hours of time just for me. I do whatever I want before my kids wake up. I have 3 kids. So before they wake up, it's me time. Then I serve them, then it's deep work, and then it's heads up and meetings. That's a good flow for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that you find your flow, but just, writing down and reviewing every day, 5 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
just what was good about that, what will you delegate next? And just by doing that, daily habit. And we have templates for that, by the way, that help you with some structure. And people can download them for free at StrategySprints.com. Just by doing that every day, you uncover your own rhythm, what's good for you.
Yeah.
That's quite important.
And adjusting that, tweaking that, sharpening that saw, if you will, helps over time, sounds like.
Totally.
Got you.
Because many people go, am I an introvert? Am I an extrovert? I did find out I'm both. In the morning, I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
In the afternoon, I'm an extrovert.
Not dissimilar. And I tend to have mornings quite blocked off for the same reason. It's like, now I know I will get a ton of really hard concentration stuff accomplished, and it's better to just block it and pretend to the world that I'm busy, since electronic scheduling is quite invasive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I do want to talk about email a little bit. Nominally, that's the topic, but it's a lens onto business as a whole. Email can really screw with your concentration, right? Do you read email during that blocked off focus time in your morning?
12 to 12:30, I read emails. 16 to 16:30, I read emails.
Okay.
And I don't just read them. I read them and I complete the action, whatever the action is. It's either I respond and delete, respond and archive, or it becomes a task. Then I move it to my task folder, and it becomes a task.
Okay. So nice. That's very, very disciplined of you, as opposed to the constant bing, stop, go look at that, and then half an hour later.
You do that.
Yeah.
If you let the world do that.
Yeah.
You lose all your freedom. And I'm a freedom guy. So I only care about 2 things. And this is freedom and love. These are the 2 things that I care about.
Mm-hmm.
And if you let other people set your priorities, you're lost. You're a slave of the world, and the world has very easy access to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to really install a flow that is good for you, and you have to inoculate against those distractions. One chapter in the book is called Traction versus Distraction.
Nice.
And it shares 2 things that I do. It's the ideal week, how you draft your ideal week so that you continuously move towards that. And then 1 year later, 2 years later, you actually live your dream life because you have an idea of what it is, and gradually you move towards that. So that's the ideal week tool in the book. And the concept, which I learned from Nir Eyal, is you don't know what distraction is before you have defined traction for you. What is traction for you? So, for example, my goal was to fire myself from operations. So to move from being the business operator to being just the business owner who enjoys the business, not
Mm-hmm.
grows the business anymore. I enjoy watching it grow.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took me, of course, 3 years
Yeah.
from the moment I decided it to the final step.
Mm-hmm.
And in those 3 years, I had an extra Google Calendar. It was called the Ideal Week. And I had my ideal week mapped out. In the morning, I write a book
Mm-hmm.
and I run for 2 hours in nature. In the afternoon, I drink tea, play with my kids, and have some meetings around hiring. In the evening, I cook Italian, I cook Indian food. That was my ideal week. And I was far away from that. But gradually, week by week, I moved forward towards that. And so that's how you can accomplish something that you really dream of
Mm-hmm.
in a long-term time frame. That was 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a long-term, and if it's a very clear, and every day you move slightly 0.1% towards it,
Right.
that's the way to achieve it.
Nice. Has it been a struggle at all to not get sucked back in?
Of course, every day, every moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right now, I am tempted to check my stocks prices and my Bitcoin prices.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right.
So in every moment, there are temptations.
Yeah.
Like my kids come in and say, bye, 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 bye.
Yeah.
I want to play dinosaur with you. And I go, yeah, I want to, but I have a meeting.
Yeah.
So there are temptations in every moment. And that's part of the freedom. I decide in every moment how to cope with that. Since my values are freedom and love, part of love is caring. When I am in a conversation with somebody, that's a sacred space. I care about that. Nothing else happens in that. There will be nothing coming in.
Right. Interesting. This is a bit lateral, but it's springing off of something that you just described. It's struck me that one of the changes we might see out of the pandemic period that we're, emerging from right now. And I had a chance, and I think you had a chance to do some of this early on. My kids saw me working for a lot of years of their life because the home office and running businesses from the space that they were part of was part of their growing up experience. And I was delighted to have them interrupt me, but they also knew there were times not to, dad's in a meeting or he's on a call or he's got the big red light on and says, I'm right in the middle of something. I'll talk to you at 3 or something like that. And I think that was probably good modeling for them. I don't know. We'll find out, but I think it might have been. What do you think?
I'm so curious what we will think in 10 years about this.
Yeah.
Because my wife and I were talking about it. And I think the amount of time that I have spent with my kids during the pandemic years is, I think, more hours than I have spent as a kid with my parents combined the first 20 years, I think.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we were always here. I had lunch with them, I had dinner with them.
Yeah.
I brought them to school. So, and if you think in generations, that's such a shift.
Yeah, that's a big change.
So I'm curious how we will remind in 10 years, we will talk about this and the psychologists will tell us what it did for our kids. But I've actually enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
What age brackets for your kids?
6, 4, and 0. So I had the full spectrum.
Yeah. That's awesome in terms of when the pandemic happened and the ages you just mentioned that, that at that age, they don't know from work and schedule. They just know dad's here or dad's not, and dad got to be here.
Exactly.
Hold on. Sorry about the lighting. I've got the sunrise. I'm waiting on new blinds. It's just killing our lighting here. Yeah. Interesting. And it sounds like your calendar, well, you already said it, your calendar recognizes how important that time is.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the calendar is probably the most important tool for me.
Interesting.
The calendar and spreadsheets. So these are the two things I couldn't live without.
Yeah.
And the calendar is important because what's in the calendar is sacred.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And one of my teachers is David Allen, who said there is a hard landscape, that's your calendar, and then there is your freedom in between. And you have next actions, and hopefully you have a good system of finding them when you need them. But actually, you move in the space between your hard landscape. So try to have some wiggle room in there so you can move freely if you're a freedom person.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a freedom person, so I want to move freely. But some things, they literally have a time, like an interview on a podcast.
Yeah.
It has a time, it's on the calendar.
Yeah.
And so, and I have to tell my team, those are the slots. It's the afternoon from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's when I'm available for podcast interviews.
For interviews.
And that's the work of finding out your energy curve and then communicating it to your team, to whoever has access to your calendar, and saying, this is the time that I do this. And to be very clear, because if you are clear, now they can manage it accordingly. And now you will have a day that is conducive to what you want to create.
Yeah. Yeah. That opens up an interesting discussion in terms of leading and managing, because let's see if I can encapsulate this well enough for us to discuss it. As companies and organizations are starting to restructure work post-pandemic, okay, where, is he or she at home or in the office? Are they going to encounter other people or not? Like we've really changed the mechanisms by which we get to bump up against each other. We'll have to be more deliberate as leaders and managers about trying to make that as effective as possible. And when you've got a team, when you've got, 8, 10, 12 people, and each of them has their own energy curve and their own habits and rhythms, what makes them effective, and you're trying to figure out how to mix them as best you can, maximizing their individual output, but also maximizing their group output for whatever the purpose of the business is. That's a very complicated puzzle.
People started to talk about quiet quitting. And now all the major media outlets are talking about quiet quitting. People never will come back. It's not something new. People have always tolerated too much work that sucks. And now it's over. They don't have the patience anymore. Now they say, all right, it's time for me to not do work that sucks. And now what do we mean by that? What do people need from a team, from their work? They need autonomy, mastery, and belonging. These are the three fundamental needs that we all have when we decide to join a team and work together. Autonomy means that I have at least some control about how I spend my life's energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you completely tell me what to do, you take away that control. So it's not wise to tell people where to work. Stop doing that. It's their thing. Mastery. If you know creative teams, they want to have a sense of concrete progress, that they're creating something that people are seeing it. And if you give creative people an admin task, they burn out. But if you give them a big creative task, you see them fly. And then belonging. Belonging is a sense of real connection and community. Now, how many of those tech corporations that we know, or insert your favorite organization in here, how many of those are a place of belonging, true belonging?
Yeah.
Like where you meet people soul to soul, heart to heart. You know their dreams.
Yeah.
You want to see them thrive. You're curious about them. You ask, hey, how are your kids doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, those places, people will not leave those places. But people are starting living more and more
Yeah.
in places where there is no belonging, no mastery, and no autonomy. And I welcome that. It's better for the world.
Yeah. It's good. Huh. I like that formulation a lot. What What do you say to companies about how to tackle the parts of their business that are, that are gritty, that are hard, that it seems like no one would want to do?
We can circle back to the 3 habits because that's exactly why they are so important. Daily habit, weekly habit, monthly habit. So if right now, Twitter, Apple, etc., we had an event today with those companies and they were discussing what can we do to have people back in the office. And I said, it's pretty simple. And we talked about these 3 things. And one point was those habits. So the daily habit is everybody writes down how they spend their time and decides how they will spend it tomorrow. And part of that is where it's conducive to do that task.
Mhm.
Might be in a coffee house, might be at home, might be at the beach, might be in the office. Let them pick it. Everybody is a leader. Everybody knows best where or which kind of task the best place will be on that day. For example, in the morning, for me, it's great to work in a place where it's kind of a cave, it's isolated.
Yeah.
But in the afternoon, I could work from a coffee house, I
Yeah.
could work from the beach, I could work from an office
Mhm.
because it's extrovert work.
Mhm.
But in the morning, I need something very isolated
Yeah.
and calm.
Yeah.
So let people decide based on the task that they're going to do and let them pick their tasks when they do what kind of work. That's the first part. And
Yeah.
it's the daily habit. They write down, they allocate time according to their best judgment.
Yep.
And the next day, they delegate more, they automate more, they outsource more.
Yep.
This is how you scale companies. And if you are Twitter, Google, etc., you need scaling. So you better have people who optimize their daily flow because they will delegate more. They can now hire. If you don't have that, you have a bunch of puppets and you cannot scale. You need a team of leaders where everybody is a leader and everybody creates something, writes it down, hands it over, hires, delegates, moves on to the next higher task. This is how you scale a business. Independently, if you are a 5-people
Yeah.
marketing agency
Yeah.
or you are a 70,000 people tech company, it's the same structure. Everybody is a leader. Everybody creates something, solves problems, writes it down, hands it over, hires, moves on to the next bigger task to solve. That's the daily
Sure. Drucker's Peter Drucker, Austrian as well?
Yes, from Vienna.
From Vienna as well. Okay. It's like you're intersecting with some of the things that I've read of Drucker's over the years, and his observation that, we hit a point where the boss doesn't know what the worker doesn't know the job as well as the worker does. And the notion that I'm supposed to understand his or her function and specialization better than they do got blown up, right? Just got completely blown up. So you're saying that for the whatever the specialty is, taking self-management and ownership of not only the job but how you're going to do the job best is on you, and that's how a larger organization is actually going to function well.
Yes, everybody from your assistant to the CEO.
Mhm.
Think of Elon Musk has the same problems to solve that my marketing assistant has to solve. It's
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah.
They need to immerse themselves into one big problem.
Mhm.
So, and then when they have solved it, so for example, when Elon Musk went for the first time into building cars, he had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah.
The real car builders were somewhere else.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, I'm going to immerse myself in this 6 months. I do 24/7, just this. I will learn it. And so he immersed himself into that. He actually learned it. Then he wrote it down, he handed it over, and now he has a production. He did the same thing with artificial intelligence. Now he has an AI team.
Yeah.
That AI team is totally autonomous. he didn't buy Twitter, but if he was to buy Twitter, he would just parachute his AI team into that and say, solve the scam problem. It takes them 3 weeks. They come back.
Yeah.
Twitter problem solved. They have to solve the same thing now for SpaceX.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how you operate. And the same thing in my team of 8 people, everybody was does. We tackle a big problem, we immerse in it. When we've solved it, we write it down, we hand it over. The next person manages that. We move on to the next big problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to laugh when you mentioned Twitter, because Twitter, from my take, Twitter is out at the extreme edge of, would you stop interrupting me? Like, I just cannot spend time at all on Twitter, because it's just this nonstop blather, and there's no such thing as getting it done. And you'll never get Twitter done, right? Because the whole planet's going.
Never. Never. Yeah, just put it off.
How does that? Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
So I never spend 1 second on Twitter. I wrote what I write on Monday will get published by systems on Twitter, but I never read them.
Yeah, good for you.
And then there's the weekly habit. Now, so the first part of how you get teams to not quit and people to actually come to your office, the first part is this autonomy part. You let them create the flow. You let them be leaders of their field. Then the second part, the weekly habit, they need quick and frequent feedback loops to what they do. So, for example, somebody's doing the CRM for you, and they put in 20 hours, and then they don't know on Friday if it had some effect or not. They will quit. But if every Friday you have a sprint dashboard meeting, which has the one marketing number, the one sales number, and the one ops number, and the whole team comes together, looks at those 3 numbers, and everybody is excited to see the numbers going up slightly or not going up slightly. Oh, going up slightly. Yeah. And then now you have a feedback loop, and whatever they do, they know that it's meaningful, that it's contributing to something, and that it's actually working or not working. This is such an important feedback loop. And 99% of the people working right now don't have that loop. If you miss that loop, this would be like you play Angry Birds, you shoot the bird, and instead of 500 points, it tells you, oh, you will hear in your report, which is May 27th, you will hear the 42 KPIs indicating your progress.
Yeah.
That's very different.
Yeah, it's very different. And one of the bits of wisdom in what you just said is simplifying it down to one this. Either you get no feedback, or you get so much that nothing's meaningful, and that amounts to the same thing, right? It's like, if I can't understand a cotton picking dashboard and I don't know whether or not things are better or worse, then there's no input to my motivation at all.
Exactly. And you need that motivation to stay up, the intrinsic motivation of your people, and they will only have it if they see stuff happen, their own impact, their contribution. And then the last thing, the monthly habit, is to check, are we moving in the right direction at the right pace? Strategic analysis, options, what else can we do? Some brainstorm, and then deciding the next angle of attack for the next month. Now you have a quest. And if you watch people, sometimes they are very lethargic during the day in the office. They're like, and then in the evening, they go home and they're excited. Oh, now I can play World of Warcraft. And then they drink Red Bulls to stay awake. That's how excited they are. And they communicate in real time. They're super fast. They're the captain of their team. And you go, why is there such an energy difference from in the morning to now? It's quite late and they have so much energy. That's because they have immediate feedback loops, real-time communication, and they have one clear quest. We will save that city from the robot or whatever. There is one clear quest and everybody's contributing to that. Again, the weekly habit and the monthly habit, and how they sound so simple, but there is a ton of behavioral psychology behind it that answers the question, what do teams need to be in a state of flow.
Right. Right. And that doesn't have to be live. Maybe we're wired for that to be live with our tribe at some point far in the past, but now we're getting better, and we're okay with those connection points, those feedback loops being
I think
digital,
it's
being
about
media.
connection.
Yeah.
Yes, you have the smell element, which
Yeah.
is missing. That's really missing. You
Yeah.
cannot, you don't have the perfume of the other person.
Yeah.
But everything else is actually there.
Yeah.
And I think connection is even more important than being in a room together, in a physical room.
Yeah.
Because you can be connected. Like we are connected right now, and somebody right now is in Japan
Yeah.
and is in, I don't know, is commuting, and we are connected right now, soul to soul, heart to heart, without being in one physical room, and we don't even know it. And that, for me, in one day, I can connect to hundreds of people in 12 cities.
Yeah.
I love that. If you ask me to go back to the times where I'm just one day, one keynote in Paris,
Yeah.
I would say that's boring. Why? I would like to be an hour in Paris, an hour in Singapore,
Yeah.
and an hour
Yeah.
in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It's much more fun.
Yeah. 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 No, I totally get it. And the complete waste of time that was business travel.
Total waste of time. I don't.
Oh, ugh.
Yeah, you can read some Kindle stuff, but actually I was never very productive in it.
No, God, this is decades ago, but I remember one week decades ago where I went from Seattle to Washington D.C. twice in the same week. I'm saying that was dumb. That was just mostly a waste of
Waste of time, man.
transporting my body across the country twice. Blah. And this I'm trying to figure out how to hook this in. The conversation that we're getting to have now, and the fact that I can see your face is very important. So if someone's listening to it, go watch the video. You'll get even more out of it. I was chatting with someone about how we're reinventing work, and we talked about video conferencing. And I said, the unstructured conversations that I get to have for this podcast are much more effective than the sort of agenda-driven, scheduled conversations where Fred and I are supposed to talk about the latest KPMs for the CR. Like, those are a bore because we think we're supposed to get through these things, and these encounter conversations in the podcast are almost always just like, they make my day because I have no idea where it's going to go or how I'm going to get to know somebody. And I said, if you're trying to get a lot of stuff done, make room for unstructured encounter on video conferencing, and you'll be surprised at how good it is.
Yes. Yeah, the freedom part again.
The freedom part.
Going
The
with
freedom
the
part.
energy
Yeah.
of the moment.
Yeah.
I love it. Absolutely. Sometimes my wife and I, we say, now we go out. And then the kids go, where do you go? And we go, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't know where you're going? Yeah, we don't know. We just enjoy going out for a walk and see what happens. And if the weather is this way, we will land more in that part of the city. If the weather is that way, if we hear a concert, we might just stay there.
Yeah.
So sometimes we purposefully have a space for experience without defining it. And then we say, we're going to walk and see what happens.
Well,
those are the best evenings.
You are cheating a little bit because from what I've read, Vienna is possibly one of the greatest walking cities in the world. And
it's a good place to walk.
Yeah.
It's a great place. That's why we live here.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a great mix of nature and culture.
Yeah.
But also, you could be booked every evening. I could hear Mozart. I could see some ballet. There's a ton of possibilities here. You can have live jazz music, and you can be booked out, completely booked out, and say, oh, it's Friday evening, it's jazz music. Or you just walk out and say, well, maybe it's Mozart, maybe it's jazz, maybe it's punk rock. We don't know. Let's see what happens.
Are live events making a roaring comeback there?
Yes, Vienna
Yes.
is the city of music and of dancing,
Yes, it is.
and
Yes, it is.
nothing will stop us. Real
Yeah.
bank.
Yeah. How hard was it for the people in those disciplines, the artists in those disciplines, during the height of the lockdown period, the pandemic period?
Many of those struggled to
Yeah.
stay in the game.
Yeah.
And we had some very important conversations as a society in
Yeah.
terms of what do we actually find important?
What do we value? Yeah.
What do we actually value? Because
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
bail out the banks,
Yeah.
we bail out a ton of
Yeah.
industries that do not really contribute to vital
Mm-hmm.
things for life.
Yeah.
And then there are some other parts, like, for example, musicians, performers,
Yes.
writers,
Yes.
um, violinists,
Yes.
opera singers,
Yes.
and kindergarten teachers,
Yes.
nurses. So that was a very important, tough conversation where society got to discuss something that was time to discuss.
Mm.
And we are still in the midst of the conversation because obviously we are valuing by economic terms
Yeah.
the wrong things very high and the
Yeah.
very important things very low.
Yeah.
And that was part of the triggering of the conversations that hundreds of musicians in Vienna were out of work and nobody was actually thinking about them. They were
Yep.
thinking about industries that really have a much lower contribution to life quality.
Yeah. Yeah.
If any.
If any. Yeah. If any. And you're you're much better at that than we. You Austria, we America in this case, where state support for the arts is so close to non-existent that it just makes me want to scream. And that fundamental, what's important, what do we value question, really got thrown in up on the screen, and we didn't do that well at it in the last couple of years. I've got a dog in this fight. My older son's a musician for a living, so watching what that's like, you know, not easy, and it should be better. I'm delighted to hear what you're saying about the comeback and about live events having a thing there. There's certainly a hunger here in the States, um, for getting back to those high quality, freedom centric live encounters for the concert, the nightclub, the jazz scene, even the classical music scene.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
On the other side, I have found out that I have never liked kissing people and I have never liked shaking hands. And I didn't even know.
Yeah.
I didn't even know because, here in Europe, when you meet somebody that
Yeah.
it's kiss, kiss, handshake.
Yeah.
You always have some form of body contact and
Yes.
you have dozens, hundreds of those in a day.
Yeah.
And I was deprived of that. And after a month, I was like, that's actually pretty cool. I have less, I have less like this normal little viruses and stuff that you take in from other people, energy of them that you take into yourself.
Yes.
There are cultures like the Asian culture where you don't shake hands
Yes.
because you don't want to take all the karma, all the life energy, all of their bags into your work. So you just politely from the far say,
Mhm.
I greet you. I greet you and the divine being that you are, but stay there.
I've built a bunch of friendships and relationships during the pandemic in this industry that I'm working in right now, email space, which I like a lot, and had the opportunity to go to a conference in June where I had this surreal meeting people that I know well for the first time. Like, Jenna, so great to see. We'd never met live before. And there was this funny moment of, wait a minute, like, I consider us friends. Am I going to give her a hug or not?
Awkward.
Yeah, it was, and I waited for her because I'm like, okay, we'll see what she does. Like, I like, and huge hug from both of us, which was great. But it was very strange, and I had multiple of those, like people I know well that I'd never physically been in the same space with. It was, yeah, it was a
And
hell of
then you realize that they are much taller or much smaller than you thought.
yeah, they're all midgets. They're all really short. That's what I think. They're like, holy crap, you're tall. I'm like, yeah, whatever. But that cultural difference you pointed out, like cultures in Asia, a lot of cultures in Asia where that distance and masks are no big deal, right? They'd been doing that
Yeah.
before COVID showed up on the scenes. And like, what took you guys so long? Yeah, it's interesting. And we're at the very beginning of figuring out what means we need to sub in now that we're doing more of this through screens and less of this live.
You know what's funny? I felt so lonely during the pandemic because I wasn't flying. So from one day of the other, we had $500,000 from the books canceled because it
Yeah.
was all events
Yeah.
driven, like the strategy
Yeah.
retreat
Yeah.
of that company, etc.
Yeah.
So gone.
Gone.
And then I was like, where do I meet people now?
Yeah.
Because in the afternoon, I'm a people-centric person. I'm an extrovert. And I was missing that. So I did more of my own podcast in the hope that somebody would listen to it on the other side, in the hope that there is somebody, because you just see your camera in that moment. Right?
Yeah.
And so that was not super fulfilling
Yeah.
because you have to wait until the comments come from the other side, until you feel that there is anybody.
Yeah.
So that wasn't the solution. I started a mastermind. I told my 10 favorite clients, hey, do you want to hang out after the sprint? Because the sprint, when we coach, is 90 days, we double your revenue. So that's a very intense thing, but then it's over. And I said, my favorite 10, hey, do you want to hang out and we discuss casework, projects, pipeline that you have and deals you want to close, everything that you have on your heart. I'm actually curious and I would love to hang out. What about we do a mastermind, 24/7 Slack group every 14 days? We do casework together, whatever is on our hearts. We give each other feedback, landing pages, emails, whatever you are writing. I will give you work critique. Let's do this for each other. I called it a mastermind. I called it the joint venture club. I had 10 people. It was the best thing ever. The best thing because it's on my phone. It's a Slack group. So I create a landing page. I tag them. Hey, Tom, you are great at copywriting. Can you give me feedback? Greg, you understand this industry so well. It's a VC thing. You are a venture capitalist. Can you give me work critique from their perspective?
Mm-hmm.
Lisa, you are a designer. Can you tell me if the buttons are right?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have enough contrast? Are the colors irritating or are they fine? All these things were so easily possible, and that created a real community. Now we are 47. And it's a real thing. Now it's a real community. It's the best community that I have. It's one of the best parts of my day.
Nice. Nice.
And that wouldn't be possible because some of them are in Los Angeles, some are in London, some are in Lisbon, some are in Singapore.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Huh. And it's grown organically, it sounds like.
Organically, just from the real longing for connection and real camaraderie of being on this journey of being an entrepreneur and not wanting to do this alone because it's much more fun together.
I'm actually really delighted to hear that because candidly, as in the last decade or so, as entrepreneur has become kind of a thing. I call it it's like when I was a teenager, people wanted to be a rock star, and teenagers today think they want to be an entrepreneur. They don't realize how much work it is, just like you didn't realize how hard it was to become a rock star back in the day. But the hypey side of it, the let's crush this and everyone's gonna be an overnight gazillionaire. I just find an unappetizing pain in the ass. But that impulse to help, like, Lisa, the designer saying, you know what, that'd be a little better if you bump the contrast. Like, we do have that impulse and that generosity, I think. to help each other. We love to see the other guy succeed, and I buy that as a basis for camaraderie a lot. I'm not surprised.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I am so big, most of my clients, when they come, I have to I have to hook them off from advertisements. They pay for ads. And there are multiple reasons. One of them is it's not reliable, it's not yours. They can change it anytime.
Yeah.
And it's a ton of it costs.
Yes.
So over the sprint, month one, I help them reduce those costs, and I want them to get to have zero marketing costs as soon as possible by creating organic growth engines like the referral engine, the joint venture engine, affiliate partnerships, embedded offers, all very organic stuff that very natural, very human. Like, hey, Matthew, I like what you are doing. My thing is adjacent, but it's for the same people. What about we offer it together? These kind of things that are all around trust and really caring.
Nice.
And so I always want them to start joint ventures, and sometimes they don't know what it is. So I have templates for that. Your joint venture one pager, how you set it up, how you do the first month, how you scale it. And now I have a mastermind of 47 big hitters, trailblazers in the B2B space from Los Angeles to Singapore. So now I can say to my current clients, I can say, hey, tap into my network. Use my 47 affiliate partners. Come in.
Yeah.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel. If they fit, I will say, okay, if you are in the B2B space and if you are offering something which is complementary to what they are offering, jump in.
Yeah. Nice. And everyone wins out of that.
Yes, it's a win-win-win. And this is something that probably people listening can think about. If you have 20 clients over the last 20 years that you like, and they are in the same space, why not connecting them to each other? Because if they are in the same industry or same role, or they have the same problem, they might benefit from the view of their peers.
Right.
Again, something that the Asian culture understood very early. Buddha said there are the three refuges. He says Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. Buddha, Dharma, Sangha is Buddha is the scholar, the student that has all the knowledge, but has Buddha nature. So he has everything that he needs, but he doesn't know. He forgot. He thinks he has to learn something. He thinks there is something missing. That's the student.
Okay.
That's why they're hungry. So there is Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and the student alone cannot move forward. Needs Dharma. That's the teaching, the tool, the vehicle, the knowledge, the book, whatever it is that the student needs right now. The teacher, maybe. Yeah. And then there is Sangha, which is the community of peers. If you have these three things together, the most important is Buddha. But if you have those three things together, student, teacher, community, that's a great triangle that holds the space for growth in every stage. When you are low energy and low confidence, they will give you support. When you are overshooting it, they will give you work critique and say, this landing page sucks. I don't even know what you are selling me. And you need it. You need it.
Yes.
Who is this for? What it's for?
Yeah.
And then you have to go and do your homework.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what you need when you're building stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Interesting. And what you're describing is much more about mutual give and take, and not just someone selling a secret formula.
Yeah, I don't believe in secret formulas. Even if there are secret formulas, the probability that it's working for you right now, where you are right now, is so low.
It's so low. Yeah.
I believe in the exploration, and I believe in processes, in proven processes. Like Ayurveda is a proven process, how you can cook stuff that it's actually good for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a proven process. 5 things. Yeah. Everything that you cook has something sweet, something sour, something bitter, etc. You do that, you have a better meal. So that's a proven process. And those processes are there, we know it, for emails, for LinkedIn, for sales, for marketing, for operations, for hiring, for firing, for all of this. There are some people that are doing this in hundreds of years. You said Peter Drucker.
Yeah.
And we stand on the shoulders of those people, and we are their scholars and scholars of their scholars, and we still have the knowledge. So if we come together, everybody has some different knowledge, and they remember different parts of the wisdom traditions, management, but also life and relationship traditions. If we come together and share that, that's magic happening right there.
Magic indeed. Well, Simon, I suspect we could go on for hours, but I suspect your energy probably needs to go to your other parts of your life since I've tied you up for almost an hour here. But what a delightful conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for holding this space and making this possible. And if people have more questions, they can dig deeper. There's the book StrategySprints where they can go deeper into those things. There are actual open source tools that I share on StrategySprints.com.
Yep.
And I have a YouTube channel where I share every week my mistakes of that week and my learnings of that week.
Yeah.
Including that I am now a beginner investor. So I'm learning live in public how to invest.
Yeah. Wow.
It's on YouTube, and the channel is called Simon Severino.
Simon Severino, and StrategySprints.com is the site for the company, right?
Yeah.
Terrific. Well, Simon, I'm going to hit end on the record, but thank you so much for connecting and conversing with me.
Thank you, Matthew. Keep rolling, everybody.